Tēnā koutou katoa. My name's Ian Kaplan from the Regulatory Stewardship team here at MB, and I'm here to talk to you today about better rules, better outcomes in actual practice, and to see how the better rules methodology has made things better. Better rules means the rules and laws written in Parliament or by ministers in the beehive are easy to understand for the public and government who need to follow them, and at the very essence of things, by people and software in an increasingly digital world. This video looks at better rules, better outcomes in action. We ask 7 questions about the approach taken by the Ministry of Social Development in reviewing the Web Accessibility Standard. First up, what was the problem being faced?
The problem was with the New Zealand Government's Web Accessibility Standard. We have this standard and it's all about promoting equal access to online information and services. Unfortunately, compliance with the standard was reportedly low. That creates issues because it means that some people can't access crucial online information, and this became a real issue following the COVID-19 outbreak when government information increasingly shifted to being delivered online. We thought that one of the issues with low compliance could have been ambiguity, people just not understanding what was expected of them or required of them under the standard.
A key problem, but how did better rules help with this problem?
The Better Rules approach just provided a really structured and methodical way of reviewing the standard. It basically enabled us to break down the standard to its core concepts, understand how they relate to one another, and then bring it back together again using really clear rule statements. Using the multidisciplinary group was also ideal throughout so that we knew we were asking the right questions and resolving the right issues at the right time.
What parts of Better Rules were used?
We used all components of the approach, so we used concept models to break down the standard to its component parts. We also used decision trees to understand how they kind of related together, and then rule statements. We didn't use the rules as code component because that was out of scope, but the focus was really on the rules, making sure that they were clear and concise.
All good in theory, but how did it actually work in practice?
It was fantastic. It provided a really structured and methodical way of reviewing the standard. I think there were a couple of things that really helped to support its success. Those included things like spending some time up front getting the multidisciplinary team right. So making sure and understanding who needed to be represented on that team and how to get those people in the room while keeping the group focused and tight. Also, what approach works for you and also the team, how many workshops you want to hold, how you want to hold them, and how you want to draft and present information. Setting expectations was also incredibly important, not only about what to expect from the project, so with a detailed project plan, but also what to expect from the Better Rules approach itself. We used an overview document for this, and then also what participants could expect in the workshop. So it was a bit of a different way of working. We were asking people to come to the table to help us identify problems, but also bring possible solutions to the table. So that was a new way of working for some people. Aligning myself with people who had used the approach before was also invaluable.
In terms of the Better Rules approach itself, it was pretty easy and straightforward to map that to the Web Accessibility Standard, and we got some good results that way from putting that analytical framework across the Web Accessibility Standard.
What challenges had to be overcome?
There were 2 challenges. The first was the pandemic. So COVID-19 had just happened and people were still getting used to the idea of collaborating online and attending meetings virtually. We held all of our workshops online, so this was something for people to get used to. The second was adaptation of the Better Rules products themselves. We needed to adapt each of the products and the way they were presented in a couple of different formats for each of the workshops to make sure that they're accessible to everyone participating.
With regards to the workshops, the content is admittedly complex and technical, and I think that prevented a number of the participants from being able to contribute substantively to actually applying the Better Rules process to the Web Accessibility Standard. And we probably could have used smaller groups.
It's critical that Better Rules delivers benefits. What was the benefit to you?
I think the benefits were 2. Just learning about the Better Rules process in more detail was really useful to me as someone who writes standards, but also with regards to the Web Accessibility Standard itself, being able to apply the Better Rules approach and translate the Web Accessibility Standard into concept model, decision model, and rule statements made it very easy to see where the Web Accessibility Standard was lacking, where there were some gaps and issues around comprehension that we could improve. So getting some really solid feedback through the Better Rules process was a true benefit?
The benefit for us was definitely that the approach provided a really structured and methodical way of reviewing a pretty technical standard. It enabled us to break down the standard to its core concepts and then put it back together again using really clear, concise rule statements. It got rid of some of that ambiguity.
Would you use Better Rules again?
I absolutely would use the Better Rules approach again. It provides such a structured and methodical framework for working through a technical policy issue, especially at the moment in the COVID-19 environment where we're developing a lot of policy at pace and things are needing to be very dynamic. Where time allows, it would be a great approach to ensure we're well set up for the future.
Well, there you have it. Better Rules in practice. For more information, visit betterrules.govt.nz.